Hi, welcome back. We got a question from Sam Stam. I know the parent of Rockstar Games is Take-Two Interactive, but how exactly are their finances handled, and what is the specific relationship between the two publishers? That's another great question. You did a good job this time, Bosman. You're asking me like questions that I can actually answer. All right. You know, Rockstar Take-Two is not unusual as far as the relationship existing. It exists in every publisher. A developer may have its own brand, may have its own studio. There are probably more of those at Take-Two because you have Irrational that's got its own brand. But you know, in internal studios, you know, at Activision you have Treyarch, you have Infinity Ward, you have Sledgehammer. So I'm sure there are more. I guess is Neversoft still around? I think so. But there are a bunch of those different, you know, internal studios. So everybody has it that I can think of, and they allow, you know, the studios to have their own brand. The difference between the Take-Two Rockstar relationship and most others is that Rockstar has a lot more control over their product than other studios. And I don't mean creative control. I think most studios have a lot of creative control. The Take-Two management is really, really fastidious about leave these guys alone and let them make art. And I think that, you know, some other publishers probably treat their studios with a you know, similar degree of respect. So I don't think that, you know, on really high-profile games that the publisher gets in their face. The difference is that the Rockstar guys also handle all marketing. The Rockstar guys handle all budgeting, so if they ask for money, Take-Two writes a check. The Rockstar guys handle launch date. It's not dictated to them, so the date is whenever it's done. When Bungie was part of Microsoft, that just wasn't the case. The game Halos came out when Microsoft said they come out. Destiny, now that Bungie's not part of Microsoft, it's coming out when Bungie thinks it's done. Same thing when Vince Zampella ran Infinity Ward as part of Activision. That game comes out in November. Now he had 2 years to work on it, but it comes out in November. When he's working at Respawn as a third-party, you know, contractor to EA, the game comes out when he's done with it, which is going to be March. So it's not a November launch. So Rockstar determines when it comes out as if they're a third party, and that's just one of the trade-offs Take-Two makes to have these incredibly talented guys work for them. Rockstar gets all the money it wants for as long as it wants, and that's typically not true in most first-party studios. They're typically on a budget, and Rockstar handles all marketing, and that is also not typical. The Infinity Ward guys don't do the marketing. They don't do the ad buying. They don't design the ad campaign. You know, the publisher does it. So I think that Rockstar has a lot more autonomy than Take-Two. I think the very nature of your question suggests that you kind of knew all that, because a lot of people think Rockstar is separate from Take-Two. They don't even think that they work for Take-Two. They think Rockstar is its own label. And in fact, it's a label, but it's, you know, they're full employees of Take-Two. The final thing that's different, and Rockstar are the trailblazers here, is the Rockstar guys negotiated a deal with Take-Two several years ago, 10 or more, and it's been revised a couple of times, where they get a percentage of the profit on the game. So they don't just get a bonus, they get a percentage of profit. And my estimate is that's 30% of profit. So let me just throw out really easy numbers for you. If Grand Theft Auto does $1.5 billion in sales, and that's probably close, it's going to do something maybe north of that. And if they spend $500 million in development and marketing spending and paying the manufacturers and all that, they make $1 billion. The Rockstar guys get $300 million. So I don't know if it's going to be quite $1 billion. They'll probably make something significantly lower, like $500 million. But the Rockstar guys are going to make a ton of money on this game. And you know, that's something that you don't see at the other studios. Infinity Ward had something similar, and it's one of the reasons that Vince Zampella and Jason West don't work at Activision anymore. Activision cut a bad deal with those guys. I think Activision wanted to cut the amount that they're going to pay them going forward, and Vince and Jason left, fired, whatever happened. but the new guys aren't getting anywhere near the same sweet deals because Activision is much more, frugal about what they pay their developers than Take-Two. And in fairness, Rockstar matters a lot more to Take-Two than Infinity Ward mattered to Activision because they had Treyarch and Sledgehammer. So, I think that Activision's rotation of the franchise, blew your eardrum out, sorry. Activision's rotation of the Call of Duty franchise gives Activision leverage over the studio because they can always bring somebody else in to work on the game. Rockstar essentially is the only studio that's ever worked on Grand Theft Auto or Midnight Club or Manhunt or Bully or Red Dead or, if I've left anything out, I'm sure there's LA Noire. So they don't own those brands, but they essentially control them because Take-Two doesn't have another studio to work on them, and I don't think Take-Two's interested in getting another studio. Hope that's responsive. So we got a question at the forum from Nathan. Dear Mr. Pachter, as next-gen consoles are nearing release, it is evident that the PS4 has superior hardware. Evident? I love that things are just like empirically proven and you don't have to even think about it. Okay, you heard it here first. Nathan says PS4 has superior hardware. Poor Microsoft. I can't believe they fucked up that bad that they allowed PS4 to have superior hardware. Currently, I've read it is financially impractical for a developer to take advantage of PS4's extra performance. Do you think Sony will subsidize the extra cost for some third-party games to market the PS4 in the first year? Wow. Okay, I'm going to answer based on your premise that it's superior, so I'll just take that. I don't know which part of the hardware you're talking about. I think you're talking about the DRAM, and it's like GDD, GGD, GDDR, I think it's GDDR35 something. It's that. I'm pretty sure that's what you're talking about. Sony, whatever, GDDR, I'm pretty sure. Sony talked to me about this at E3. They were telling me that they spent something, it wasn't tons, like 25 or 50 bucks more per box to put that in. I talked to Microsoft about it, and they said the reason we didn't put it in is not because of cost, it's because it runs too hot, and it means we had to change the configuration of the box, and God knows. This is like the Cold War, and everybody's doing espionage, and you never really know if any of them are telling you the truth. But I would say that developers will figure it out. If it's really good and it makes their games better, they'll figure it out. They aren't going to figure it out at launch. So the answer to your question, will Sony subsidize the extra cost? I doubt it. I don't think the developers will incur the extra expense because it'll take an iteration or two on PS4 to figure it out, and all extra cost means is extra time, and most guys are just trying to get games out fast. So I don't think you'll actually see anybody take advantage of it early. Watch Dogs might be one of those games that does, you never know. Ubi's kind of that way, and they tend to take advantage of things. But I don't think Sony's going to subsidize. And if that's what you're talking about, I think that's the answer. I don't know about the rest of the box being superior. I mean, again, it depends on your perspective. One could argue that if you want to use a camera, that the Xbox One's superior because it's got one built in. One could argue that if you want the microphone array and you want to talk to your box, that the Xbox One is superior because it's got Kinect. So I don't know that that's necessarily true. And that camera and voice array, which I know that none of you intend to use, is going to recognize you when you walk in the room. So again, if that means that more than one gamer in the household has some custom menu show up, that's kind of cool. And it remembers what game session you were in and brings it up instantly, that's kind of cool. So I'm not going to accept the premise that PS4 has superior hardware, but good for you. If in fact you're right and everybody believes it, then PS4 is going to crush the Xbox One because it's $100 cheaper for superior hardware. Nobody thinks that it's going to outsell the Xbox One by 3 or 4 to 1. We think it's going to outsell it by 20% or 25%, and that's based on the price. And I would say that if you talk to Xbox 360 owners, they're going to tell you the Xbox One is what they want, so we'll see. We have a question from Twitter from @DanielKoss. Dear Mr. Pachter, have you ever considered that your predictions may influence the outcome of events? I have never considered that. I never will consider that because they won't. Nothing happens because I say it's going to happen. It happens because it was going to happen, And I say it's going to happen because it's logical, and I am wrong a lot. And I'm wrong because I have no impact on the outcome. So no, never considered it, but I predict that you are going to tell 10 million people to watch this episode of Pach-Attack. So let's see if it influences the outcome. If you have a question for me, you can submit it to the link below. If you'd like to ask me a question on Twitter, send it to @Michael-Pachter, copy @GameTrailers, and apply the hashtag AskPach, and we will answer every question we can get to. I will send you a direct message and answer your question directly if you follow me on Twitter @Michael-Pachter. Thanks very much for joining us.
Bacon's the worst, cause gum loves hampers. Peace inside your hamper. Hampers are the worst with ham. I changed my hamper's sandal, and I was born late and warm. I have no powers without my hamper.
All right, fellow babies, if you'd like to check out more episodes, you can do so on YouTube, or we'll save you some time. You can stay on the site, and you can check them out right there.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Few outtakes.
The word of a generation.
It is kind of an odd word, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so stupid. I feel like an idiot every time I use that word.
Dr. Awesome.